money makes you more of what you are. If you're a good person and you want to serve people in the world and you have more money, guess what you can do? Serve more people. If you're a negative, I'm using air quotes, bad person, I don't know exactly what that definition means, and you want to just miser it all and have the most and just be mean about it, well, more money is going to make you more of that person too.
What if there are things we never had the opportunity to learn? We've all been to school or training, but there are things they never taught us that actually make a powerful difference in life. I'm here to share with you all the pieces you've been missing: mindset, health, success, and more. And we'll all learn together from guests along the way. We may not have learned it the traditional way, but oh my goodness, let's keep learning how to do things differently.
OMG, hello, my friends. I am excited to be with you today. Today, we are going to talk about what I'm going to call money thoughts. And I have done episodes on money and money mindset before. And let me tell you what happened with those episodes. They were some of the most downloaded, most listened to episodes of this podcast. So, even if this isn't your main focus in terms of the types of things you like to learn, the types of things you want to listen to, hang in there with me and let's just see. So, today is part one of a 2-week mini series on money thoughts. We're talking about that exact thing today and maybe judgments, I might say. And then next week, I have someone joining me to talk about our money personalities. And so imagine that that's important when maybe working together as a couple and just sort of all different aspects of life. So hold on as well for episode 72 next week. But first, let's talk about thoughts we have about money. Now, we all grow up with different experiences. And we all grow up with different stories about money. And when I work with my one-on-one coaching clients, this is one of the things that always comes up. And unfortunately, is the word I'm going to use, for women in midlife, it seems to be that we almost always have some guilt or some negativity about earning money, particularly if it's related to we think we're asking other people to help us start our business or something, and that's going to give us money, and that's somehow bad. Now, there are absolutely the opposite money stories out there, and your background may have given you a completely opposite story, and that's okay. We all have different stories and different backgrounds. But let's just start with a couple of basics. So, money is just a means of exchange. And I'm sure you've heard this before, and you're thinking, I know, but money is a means of exchange. It could be rocks from your garden that everyone uses to exchange for services and goods. It could be a barter system where there isn't any money. It's a means of exchange. However, that being said, it gets wrapped up in safety for us as we grow up, because in this world, you need money in order to be able to live in a comfortable way and have food and have clothing and have shelter. And if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those are key basic needs before you even get into satisfaction with your life. And all of those things come because you somehow have found a way to have the money to make the exchange, to get the clothing and the food that you and your family need. So obviously, it doesn't stay simple like, oh, a means of exchange. It becomes really impactful in our minds because this is how we get what we need to live. And so there's generally two ways that our stories will sway us. One, maybe we grew up very wealthy and money was just assumed. And there could be pros and cons here. There could be sort of healthy and unhealthy ways that you look at money if you grew up wealthy, or maybe you grew up without enough and there was a lot of fear and scarcity around money, or maybe judgment toward people with money. So again, pros and cons, just depending on your experiences. So we all grow up with these stories. And one exciting thing that you can have next week, if you would like, is I'm doing a private podcast episode with a few of my expert guests, and we're going to share all of these money stories and help you figure out exactly what to do if you fall into some of them. It's really, really fascinating discussion. So stay tuned next week and on my social media, OMG Teach Me, on all the social media, and you'll find out how to get that access to that private episode. I hope you love it. Today, I want to talk about thoughts we have about money. So typically, you're going to land a bit more on the pro, positive, yes, I deserve money and I know how to make money side of the equation, or a little bit more on the negative. Money is scarce, there's not enough to go around, or if I make more, that means someone else will have less. And the best lesson, and you have to remember, I'm a numbers person. The best lesson I ever learned about the fact that it really is true that there's not a limited supply of money in the world is if you think about how a bank works. So if you put $100 into your bank savings account, that bank is allowed to loan out your money to someone who is getting a loan 9 times over. So if you put $100 in your savings account, the bank can loan out $900. So it just multiplied potentially by 9 the amount of money that's going out into the market. Now, of course, there's all sorts of rules and restrictions about how much the bank has to hold, and all of it is above board. But the point is, there's not a zero-sum amount of money in the world. It can be multiplied. So we know that if we are starting a business and making more money, or we are getting a promotion, or we are getting a higher salary, that's not taking away from anyone else. I suppose there are cases where it could if you stole someone's job, but let's assume, listeners, that that's not what we're talking about. So if we can start to remind ourselves that there is enough money to go around, then the next money thought that we want to catch, and really the biggest thing I want to talk about today, is that we're never going to allow into our lives something that we judge others for. And this could be other things besides money, but it is definitely, definitely true of money. And there are a number of different books that have been written about this. If we are looking at someone else, and I'll give you a few examples, and we are judging them in some sort of negative way, even just slightly, but we really want what they have, we are going to stop ourselves. We're going to self-sabotage, shoot ourselves in the foot before we get there, because we've told our brains that what they have was just a little bit tinged with bad. So let's look at some examples so you understand what I'm saying when I say we will never actually have in our lives what we judge other people for. You can't attract to yourself what you judge in someone else. And so imagine that you are starting your own business. Maybe it's coaching like me, maybe it's direct selling, maybe it's, I don't know, manufacturing a product and selling it on Etsy. It doesn't matter what it is. You're starting your own business, and you see, as you're doing your marketing, that there are other people out there who are doing a similar business. And in all those examples, that would definitely be true. There are, I'm sure, businesses where you've thought of a product that no one else has thought of. But in most cases, somebody is doing something similar. And that is fine, because you will connect with your ideal client or ideal listener, like I do, and they will connect with theirs. And you're going to be coming at the business in a slightly different way, and that will be a fit for some people and not others. So it's fine that multiple people are in the same line of work. They will have differences and they will appeal to different people. But the problem comes in if we see, let's say on social media, we see someone in a similar line of business as we are doing, and their numbers are huge on social media. And it looks like they must have just tons of clients or tons of customers. and so much respect from the industry. And they're going on news shows or daytime shows or radio shows, and they're just publicity all over the place. If we start to tell ourselves stories like, well, I'm sure what she or he had to do, I wouldn't want to have to do that. I wouldn't want to have to act that way. I wouldn't want to have to deal with fame. I'm sure, like, the amount of work that they put in, I wouldn't want to have to do that. And I'm going to do this the right way. I'm not going to be pandering and just trying to get views. I'm going to do this in a better way. All of that might be true, right? Maybe they did go about building their business in a way that you don't want to do. But when we start that focus and we tell ourselves that story, we are cutting off the path towards what they have in terms of size of successful business. Let me give you another example. So, let's say you're in a job and you would love to have a promotion, and you are looking around within your company or maybe outside, but let's let this example be within your company. And I've come across so many people in my corporate and teaching jobs who say, I don't know why I never can get promoted. I'm frustrated. People are getting promoted around me. Well, I could do that. I don't know why they get to do it and I don't get to do it. And this might not be the reason. There could be other reasons, but sometimes it's because we're judging those people and we're thinking, well, they must have just schmoozed and brown nosed, and I'm not going to do that. And we're creating this negative energy about what you have to do to get to that next level. Well, if in our minds we're telling ourselves this story that there's a lot of negative stuff you have to do to get to that next level, you think we're going to continue trying full out to get to that level? No, because remember, your brain wants to be safe. Your brain wants to be on the couch in the snuggie. And if your brain is going, but hold on, I got to do all this stuff to get to that level that I don't want to do, and that doesn't feel safe. So we're not going to do that. We're going to sit back and we're going to tell ourselves that we're going to go about it the right way. But what we're really doing is making a judgment about people who have had more success, who have had more income, who have had the job we want, who have the size business we want. When we make a judgment about them, we stop our movement forward, we stop the flow of success to us, we kind of interrupt that energy. And we all are communicating on wavelengths of emotion and energy. That's why you sometimes can tell somebody's upset before they even say anything. So if we stop that and we make judgments, then we stop our movement forward toward the success or the income that we say we want. Now, if I am saying this and you are thinking, oh gosh, oh my goodness, that's me. And now I feel terrible. I've ruined my own life. Nobody should feel terrible. This is all just human stuff. And you can do a lot of different mindfulness exercises to start to realize what's going on in there. Am I making these judgments about people who are in a place where I say I want to be? To recognize that. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's prayer, maybe it's writing out your thought cycle, like I teach people to do who I'm coaching. Who knows what it is? But you can start to recognize, what stories am I telling myself? What judgments am I making? And might I add, typically our judgments are unfair because we don't really know what was happening in behind the scenes of whoever this is that we're judging. So we're going to talk about how to switch that around. The other thing that I see come up a lot, besides wanting in our life something that we're then actively judging other people for, is that scarcity, where we're judging people for almost doing the opposite in a sense, for being very frugal with their money, or we're thinking we should be more frugal or they should be more frugal, or we have to hold on to it and be very careful. There's fear in there. Do you see how that's kind of the opposite? We're looking sort of in the opposite direction in terms of money. And again, as we said at the beginning, there is enough money. It's a question of figuring out how you can feel really good about having more success and creating more success for yourself, because then you're going to be mentally open to coming up with ideas. And I'm going to put in the show notes the link to last year's little duo of episodes about money that was budgeting and then money mindset. And I believe in that money mindset episode last year, we talked about further into this of the scarcity and the fear about money and the judgment about you're a bad person if you have more money. Money makes you more of what you are. If you're a good person and you want to serve people in the world and you have more money, guess what you can do? Serve more people. If you're a negative, I'm using air quotes, bad person, I don't know exactly what that definition means, and you want to just miser it all and have the most and just be mean about it, well, more money is going to make you more of that person too. It doesn't change you, it makes you more of what you are. So, what should we do if we've noticed ourselves judging and maybe we see that we might be interrupting this flow of success or promotions or money or income to ourselves? Well, I want you to be really aware of when you're focused on someone else, and I want you to try to flip it to focusing on your own vision and what you can do. Because we've had episodes about comparison as well, and comparison is the thief of joy. I don't know who to quote for that, but it's a very common saying, so maybe I don't need to. Gut health is such a huge part of living healthy. When I learned that the health of our gut affects our hormone levels, how our digestion works, what we absorb into our body in terms of nutrients, and even how our brains work, I was surprised. Every morning, I started using a Green Gut Glow drink to make sure that I was taking care of my brain, skin, nail, hair, gut, and making sure I get enough veggies because I don't know if I would eat enough otherwise. I have felt a difference minimizing puffiness and bloating for sure. Go have a look at omgteachme.com/recommendations and look for the Green Gut Glow Plus. When you're judging someone for having the promotion you want or the size business you want or the number of clients you want, and you're thinking, I don't know what they did to get there, that's comparison. And we're telling ourselves something negative about it. So let's let that go. When we recognize it, first step. Second step, what do we do to replace that so that we can let it go? I want you to see if you can think in constructive ways. And in The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, that I'm going to be talking about over the next few weeks on my Instagram, he says, spend time contemplating your vision. So what does that mean? Well, in the case of growing a business, spend time imagining your days with a large business and a lot of clients or the income that you want or a lot of sales or whatever it is. If it's a promotion that you're working on, spend time picturing yourself having that. How will you do it? How will you interact with people? What will your days look like? In your mind, be already there and let that be just kind of a fun, positive thing. Sometimes I say daydream your vision. We want to take away all the negative, scarcity, judgy comparison stuff. Let that go. We don't know anyone's story behind the scenes. And spend time just contemplating on where you want to be and feeling how you're going to feel when you're there, and feel it as if it's happening now. Let yourself daydream that. That's constructive. How will you do the job? Maybe you will do it differently than the people you've seen do it. Let's think about how you'll do it as opposed to, I'm not doing that. Take it away from the comparison, negative stuff, and think, how will I do it? Maybe you make some notes to yourself. You kind of create a vision of what your day looks like. However you like to do it. It might be journaling, it might be affirmations, it might be just kind of sitting and looking up at the trees and daydreaming. That's really, really powerful. Spend time doing that sort of thinking and contemplating your vision. Because what you're doing is you're teaching your brain that those things are possible. The thought, the idea has to come first. And you're also increasing your comfort level in being in that situation. So if you don't want your brain to snap into protective, stay in my comfort zone mode as quickly or as much, the more you visualize or just kind of daydream, think about, let it be easy and light, being in these future positions that you're aiming towards, the more comfortable your body, your nervous system, your brain is going to be in actually being there. And the less you're going to self sabotage because it will feel okay, not scary, or not as scary, maybe I should say, to be moving in that direction. And now, besides spending time contemplating your vision, I also want you to give some money away. And this is such a powerful thing. And I'm sure you've heard people talk about it before, but I'm going to tell you my experience with this. So if you are attending a church, you maybe already are giving 10% of your income or something like that. If you really have a heart for a charity or an organization, a cause that you support, maybe you're giving to that. Fantastic. Do those things. And it doesn't matter if you're giving $1 or you're giving $100,000, it adds up. It's not just you giving it, it's everybody, right? It adds up. So if you grew up with parents who taught you, to put this much away, put this much to giving, put this much to spending, that's a fantastic lesson. And I'm not perfect at it. We're never going to be perfect at it, but that's also what we talked about a few weeks ago in the episode about entrepreneurial mindset. The Profit First book that you can find on omgteachme.com/read talks about how to split your money up first from a business perspective, but still interesting. So besides those things, which are really important, what if you start giving away little anonymous amounts of money? Maybe big anonymous amounts of money. I don't know, however much you want. And I used to be in a coaching group when I was growing my direct selling business. And the leader of this group called this Wealth Wednesday. And the idea was that on Wednesdays, you would give some anonymous gift, and that would start to heal the way we think about money. And it maybe at first seems weird, but man, let me tell you, one of the easiest ways to do this is if you ever go through a drive-through. Let's say it's Starbucks drive-through. You pay for your order when you get to the window where you pay, and you tell the cashier, I want to pay for the car behind me. And they love it. They will know exactly what you're doing. Don't worry, they won't think you're weird. Well, maybe they will, but we don't care, right? They will tell you how much, you pay, and then you leave. And then the car behind you drives up to the window and they say to them, this is already paid for. But by then you're gone. This is anonymous. And that's the power. The good feeling that brings for spending, I don't know, $5, $10, $20 is incredible for you and for them. I've heard of people putting money in an envelope and leaving it on a car windshield. I've heard of people shoving money into a diaper box in the grocery store. So when somebody buys that, they have cash in there. I've heard of people anonymously ordering pizzas and sending them to the fire station or the high school for the teachers. You could think of a million things to do. You could make a donation to a charity and make it anonymous. It doesn't matter, and it doesn't even have to be a lot. That is going to go a long way towards healing your judgments about having money, because now you're using it for such a cool, positive reason, and it is making a difference for someone. And it's also going to start healing your scarcity about money. So if you are really living paycheck to paycheck, I am not saying to give $100 to someone anonymously. Maybe it's a couple dollars or $1. It doesn't matter the amount, and you will still have enough. And that starts to heal that scarcity and that fear as well. It's just such an amazing, cool thing. And if you try this, I would love for you to find me on social media and send me a direct message and tell me how it went, because it is one of my favorite things to pay for the person behind me in a drive-through. And I actually live in a place where I walk a lot. So I don't go to a drive-through that often. So I try to do it when I actually go to a drive-through most of the time. Obviously depending on how much time I have and whatever is going on. And is there even someone behind me, right? It's such a cool feeling. And I want that for you. Such a cool feeling. Now, I do mean it leave so that it's anonymous, because the point is not for them to feel like they need to find you and thank you, and that becomes weird. It's anonymous. That's the power for you. And it's kind of the power for them as well. Now, Karen Mullins, in the last year's episode that I'm going to put in the show notes, I think may have also talked about not looking at prices as kind of a healing the scarcity situation. Now, you have to be careful with this one, because let's take a restaurant as an example. If you go into a restaurant and you think, what do I really want to eat? What do I really want to drink tonight? Let me just get those things. And you absolutely just don't allow your eye to go to the price. Just get it. Believe it or not, that's a really good way to start healing some of this money scarcity as well. Just be careful, and she'll say this too, that you are going to a restaurant where anything that you end up ordering, it will be okay for your budget. We're not saying go to a Michelin star steakhouse and say, I want the best steak. And that's too much for your budget at that time. Pick something where no matter what you choose, it's going to be okay. And don't look at the prices. Order what you really want and what really feels good. And then let me just add one last thing, maybe tip extra. And if you can do it, get out of the restaurant before the wait person sees that. Again, anonymous, just like I was talking about before. It's just another way to do that. But it's such an amazing feeling. It's helping us heal from this scarcity around money. It's helping us to give to people who potentially need it. And it's helping us to let go of the fear involved with not having enough, because we're adding this positive energy. So what we've talked about in terms of constructive things to do is really two main categories. Spend time contemplating your vision of how you will do things when you are at this level of success or level of income or level of promotion that you want. Let it be a positive and constructive thing, and also fun. What does my day look like? And then give money away and throw in some anonymous giving as often as you can, because it is just the coolest thing, and it will start to heal some of the judgments and the thoughts you have potentially about money. So I hope this was meaningful for you. This is going to be a piece of the Leading Lady community that launches towards the end of 2024. So make sure that you are aware of what's going on. And so I think maybe the easiest way to do that is to go over to omgteachme.com and sign up in the pop-up box to make sure that you are getting my emails. You can go to omgteachme.com/coaching and have a look there too. And next week, I have Sherry coming on to join us and talk about money personality and maybe how a couple would deal with having different money personalities. She's got some stories for you. Stay tuned also that the private podcast episode on money stories is coming up. So many cool things to learn that I really don't think we learned in school. See you soon. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. OMG, did you know that we have mini episodes every Friday as well? Make sure to follow OMG Teach Me in your favorite podcast app so you get all the goodies. And if you're just finding this podcast and you're kind of wondering where to start, I have a curated mini series for you to help you stop self-sabotaging, because we all do it. So head over to www.omgteachme.com and sign up when you get the pop-up box. We may not have learned all these things in school, but they sure are powerful now.